Hello and welcome to the Morning Serve, brought to you by TikTok. I'm Emma Lawrence, joined by Todd Woodbridge. Todd, we have to start with that epic between Andy Murray and Tanasi Kokonakis that went till 4 a.m. There's a lot of talk about this. Does something need to be done? Is that too late for the players to be on court?
Well, it's tough. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, if Thanasi had finished off a smash and the break opportunities that he already had, that match would have finished at 12:30. And that's the thing about five-set tennis and the drama that it can build. It's unfortunate it went that long, but no, I don't think it has to be changed. You know, those guys are going to remember that match forever because of the time they finished. And it's part of the drama of these tournaments. We don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, as I said to someone earlier today, that was prime time in other parts of the world, and that's showcasing our tournament and the city to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Andy Murray didn't actually get out of Melbourne Park until 7 a.m.
Right.
So can you talk us through the process? What does an athlete have to do once they get off the court? What are the things he has to tick off then?
Well, particularly somebody like Andy that's got, you know, a brand new hip in there as well. It's straight inside. You've got to cool down a little bit. So jump on a bike and just try to get rid of some of that lactic acid. But at the same time, needs to eat. You've got to get fuel back into yourself, particularly some carbohydrates, just to get that energy so that you don't lose too much weight and muscle. You got to hydrate. You got to do that. And then knowing Andy, because he's very sports science driven, it would be ice baths as well for that recovery. So, you know, that's, and don't forget press, because he's got to go, there's a big contingent of British journalists here that he's got to go talk to as well. So he's got 2 or 3 hours before he can leave.
And then he was back at 1 p.m.
Yes, that's a good effort.
What does that do? When does the fatigue factor start to come in, and just the lack of sleep as well? Will it really affect him, do you think?
It's got to. I mean, he's played nearly 10 hours of tennis in 2 matches. That's extraordinary. Like, sometimes you can get through the semis of the men's with 14 hours. So it's going to be hard no matter what. 2 massive matches, Berrettini and then Kokonakis, and then he's got a tough one coming again. So it's going to be hard to see him getting through the next one. But you know what? He's given us a really great first week. And for himself, he's proven why he does all the hard work and why he's actually still around.
And why he just refused to retire.
Yeah.
We love it.
Well, he refused to lose to Thanasi. He could have rolled over, but he wouldn't.
Up next, Roberto Bautista Agut.
Yeah.
How do you see this one playing out?
That's a tough one because the Spaniard's been in the semis of majors before. He's a grinder who's a very clean ball striker. He's going to move Andy from side to side. And look, that's where Andy's going to need every bit of energy that he can get, and the recovery is going to be so important. But I think that's a tough one.
All right, well, it's time now for our TikTok moment of the day. And today it goes to Alexei Popyrin and that beautiful post-match interview.
Fritz came back, won the 4th, 7-6. And Popyrin, he's fired up as he heads towards Casey Dellacqua. He took the 5th, 6-2.
I'm going to keep working, I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to try and keep going all the way, man. I love this feeling, and I want more of this feeling. I want you guys to have this feeling more. Man, I love you guys so much, thank you.
Just incredible scenes. It gives you goosebumps watching it.
Yeah.
Todd, how do you put into words what that moment would have been like for him?
Well, you can see it. It's written all over his face. It's about he's had a rough time. You know, as a young player, he's burst out onto the scene. We talk about him a lot in the juniors, and he came up with Alex de Minaur, and they were both touted to be going so well. Alex has got in and further as a top 20 player way before Alexei, and Alexei's sitting watching him going, why me, why not? And last year was tough, and he's turned that around with hard work. He had to change his attitude. His attitude was not really great over the last 12 months. It was a bit of the why me's, and with some help from Xavier Malisse, he's been able to get positive again. And you know, this match, these wins are springboards to him doing new things in tennis. It's getting into that top 50 in the world, and I'm really happy for him, and that's what you could see in those pictures.
Yeah. And how important is that player-coach relationship? Because he mentioned a couple of times straight afterwards and in the press conference how much it's helped.
Well, I think for him it's hugely important, because what I've been watching with the people he has been working with, there wasn't the connection of actually how to play tennis. He's just hitting balls and doing stuff out on the court. What Xavier seems to have done is connect the thinking with the actual playing. So tactically using his weapons well. And he's a developing player. It's going to take him longer than Alex to get there. He's tall. He's got a big serve and a forehand. Doesn't move quite as well as what Alex does. And I shouldn't compare them, but that's what you have to recognise and be aware of. If you're two very different sized people that are in different phases. And so this is a huge moment in the career for Alexei. And I tell you what, that win now opens up the draw for him to do really something special. He can go deep now.
Well, you mentioned he's already made so many changes with the attitude, the focus, but over the next few years, how high do you genuinely think he can go? And even someone like Kokkinakis, because they both have great potential.
They do, but I mean, Lexi's younger, and he can see now what's possible. You beat Taylor Fritz, he's Wimbledon semi-finalist, he's been in the top 10 quarterfinalist, I should say. And can he get to 50? Yes. Can he get to 10? That's going to take a lot of work. Can he get to 20? Yes, he certainly can get to 20. So I think it's going to take him longer, but this is that step to now doing that.
We've been loving watching the young Aussies, but there's young stars all round. And what about Linda Fruhvirtova and her sister Brenda? So 17 and 15.
Yeah,
Do you
crazy.
think in a few years we'll see possibly two sisters, battling it out
I don't
to win
think
a Grand Slam?
Quite possible. Well, to win a Grand Slam, yes. I thought you were going to say we're going to see him battling it out pretty soon. There's no doubt. How rare is that to have two come along like that? Or is it as rare when you think about the Williams sisters? It's happened before, and these two are really incredible. I mean, what you know in tennis is when you get underneath into the players' area, the locker room, and you hear the chit-chat, everybody's talking about these two. A lot like they were about Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner about 3 years ago. So you see what they've done. Alcaraz has already won a major, and there's a fair chance that at least one of these two is going to do that.
Well, up next for Linda, she's still in the draw. She's got Marketa Vondrousova.
Yeah.
How do you see this one playing out?
No, look, given what the year has started like for her, it's all about confidence. And when you're that young and you're playing that well, you don't have any fear factor. You just keep going out and do it. And what I've liked about her so far is there is no fear, there is no nerves, and there's no expectation. And so she's just, running with momentum. So, I'd like to feel like that again, gotta say.
Well, so Alex de Minaur feels like that as well, I'd say, at the moment. And that win for him over Adrian Mannarino, he really seemed to soak in the crowd like he hasn't done. Have you sort of noticed a shift or a change in the demeanour of Alex de Minaur?
The demeanour of de Minaur. Yes and no. So when you watch Alex play, he's very concentrated. He's really intense, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He has high expectations. That's why he's doing so well. But at the same time, there's nobody more patriotic than him playing for his country. Now, we see that in Davis Cup. We haven't sort of seen it as much by himself. But think about what he did in the lead up to this tournament, United Cup. He beats Rafa Nadal in Sydney. That's massive. His confidence is high. He had a tough match with Mannarino where they were going toe-to-toe, and he broke his man down. And then that final set, he just runs over him just through fitness, through mental aptitude, and he's going fantastically well. He's got chances. He's just got to find some more weapons because we know he's got the consistency, but he's got to ride the emotions, and he has to use the crowd to be able to help him continue to go in the tournament.
Do you think at all, so we've seen Nick Kyrgios use the crowd for a long time, and he loves John Cain. Would Alex be looking at Nick, or is it totally an individual thing?
Yeah, they're different personalities. You've got to play, and players do play to their style and personality, and that's what Alex does. What Alex wants to be able to do is play bigger. He wants to be able to play more like Nick, get more free points on serve, use the forehand and be bigger with that. But at the same time, he has to rely on his wheels and moving around the court. So you've got to be careful that you don't go outside of your own zone. And right now, he's staying in that perfectly, and he's still bringing in new elements. And that's what he's got to do. We talk about Popyrin and where his ranking is. This is the new point for Alex, is to get inside of 15, to start knocking on that door of 10. And to do that, he needs to get to a quarter or a semi here at the AO.
Do you think he can do that? He's our best hope, really. Well,
Yeah.
the only seeded player left.
Yeah, well, look, can he do it? Yeah, if you can keep going along in these tournaments, yes, he can. But it's going to be him having to have some career victories to go that deep in terms of players that he's got to beat along the way.
We're crossing our fingers. We're right with him all the way. Todd, really appreciate your time. And thank
Pleasure.
you so much for joining us here on The Morning Serve, thanks to TikTok.